At Sargent, we're proud to be one of the leading manufacturers of door hardware solutions, delivering innovative products designed around our customers' needs. But before we look ahead, it's worth taking a moment to look back, because the story of Sargent is woven into the very history of New Haven. And it all began with the Sargent family and their early handcard business, started by Joseph Denny Sargent, his brother Harrison, and his son, Joseph Bradford Sargent.
So the Sargent story actually starts with Joseph Denny Sargent. At the age of 16, he started to develop hand cards. And hand cards were very important to the textile business, where they took cotton balls and they would separate the cotton so they could spin the yarn. He was inspired by Eli Whitney, and they developed a standardized hand card device that was really so successful. They got actually awards, Blue Ribbon Awards, for the best hand card used in the field at that time.
That early success sparked Joseph Bradford Sargent's vision. When he took over the business, he quickly expanded, acquiring the Peck & Walter Company, renaming it to the J.B. Sargent Company, and relocating operations here to New Haven, Connecticut.
New Haven was very attractive, where he bought a 2-acre site where we had 4 railroads and 3 steam ports. Over the course of about 50 years or so, he was able to fill in 20 acres of Long Island Sound and to build 30-plus buildings, standardized buildings. These buildings were here basically built so that everything was done in one building. And the buildings were actually 5 stories high, and the raw materials were done on the basement floor, if you say, or the first floor, which moved up to machining, and then moved up to assembly, and then moved up to finishing, and eventually final pack on the 4th floor. And these buildings were kind of unique in a way because they were actually built by Sargent employees.
The facility became a symbol of progress. Fireproof construction, running water, sprinkler systems, even the first commercial elevator ever installed in Connecticut. The Sargent factory set a new standard for modern manufacturing. By 1854, the company became the sole agent for Mallory Wheeler & Company, who specialized in locks and hardware. Then, in 1888, Sargent began producing its own locks, marking a major milestone.
We were making parts for Mallory Wheeler Company, and they were making locks at that time. What happened was the president of that company got very sick, and he started slacking in orders, and eventually we took over that lock business. The first locks were a mortise type of lock that we were producing back in the 1800s, and then eventually we moved into more type of modern cylindrical locks. We came up with this concept of a cylindrical lock where you just drill a hole through a door, and everything was pre-assembled. So all you had to do was put the unit in, put the levers, the latch, and then you'd be done. So you cut installation time from hours to minutes.
With that innovation, Sargent wasn't just keeping up. It was reshaping the hardware industry, and its influence extended far beyond locks. Through the years, Sargent became more than a business. It became a cultural and economic landmark for New Haven, and a contributor to America's growth and defense.
As far as the Civil War, we were supplying a lot of items, which brought attention to Abraham Lincoln, that when he visited New Haven, he actually thanked the Sargent workers for forging the cannons for the Civil War. We actually did the castings for all of his casket. We were in the hardware casket business at that time, so it was a natural fit for us to do that, and we were honored to do it. So although that Joseph Bradford Sargent wasn't alive during World War I and World War II, he set the stage for a natural transition for our factories to supply parts.
By the 20th century, Sargent's impact was undeniable, not just in innovation, but in workforce. By the end of World War II, nearly 40% of jobs at the plant were held by women, reflecting a changing America. In 1964, the company turned another corner. C. Forbes Sargent, grandson of Joseph Bradford Sargent, relocated and modernized the plant, moving just a quarter-mile away in what became known as Operation Stone's Throw.
Operation Stone's Throw was a great model because it really We were only moving a quarter mile down the road. It was a 30-acre site here on Long Wharf. So he had an opportunity to make a more efficient factory, and he took advantage of that by putting the equipment in, so as raw materials came into the building, they would naturally be assembled and flowed into our shipping room or out the door on the other side of the facilities, which made it very, very efficient compared to other type of factories. It was really a state-of-the-art factory back in those days, along with the new type of machinery. So Sargent was very instrumental in pioneering automation, if you will, where it took manually 9 minutes, but with the aid of using 60 machines, we were able to make a lock in 1 minute.
That pioneering spirit carried Sargent into the modern age, where innovation, efficiency, and craftsmanship continue to define the brand. Today, that legacy lives on.
We're in a 356,000 square foot facility, which is about 7.5 acres. We're on a 30-acre lot. We do exit devices, mortise locks, board locks, electromechanical. We have all in-house plating. We have test labs. We have, of course, engineers, and where we build new products as well. So we design and do prototypes for new products constantly. We do have 255 employees in the union workforce, that is, and then we probably have another 125 staff that support that in this facility here.
At Sargent, you'll see how generations of innovation and craftsmanship continue to shape the future right here every single day.